Thank you, Tembegile. Well, the long wait is finally over. Mamelodi Sundowns will kick off their FIFA Club World Cup campaign against Ulsan from South Korea in Orlando, Florida at midnight tonight, South African time. This is the second time the Brazilians have qualified for the World Cup, having also done so in 2016. Sundowns travelled to the United States more than a week ago to prepare for the prestigious tournament. They've been camping at their base in Bradenton, Florida, but have travelled to Orlando on Monday, where they'll play their first match. The Brazilians' left-back, Aubrey Modiba, says they've enjoyed their stay so far and have been preparing well for their South Korean opponents.
They're a very good side, similar in terms of how we play. We play the similar way. They've got good players. They're doing well in their respective league. They've got, I think, 4 stars or 5 stars on their shirt. So it's a good team, and they're not here by mistake. It shows that they deserve to be here. It's going to be a tough game, and yeah, like I said, looking forward to that game. And we're going to apply ourselves and make sure we do well. Because we're representing Africa as a whole.
Well, SABC Sports senior journalist Mazola Molefe is in the United States, in Orlando to be precise, and he joins me now live to talk about the Sundowns match. Good evening, Mazola. How are you doing?
Mawande, good afternoon here in the USA.
Fantastic. Let's get right into today's match. You would have spoken with a few people from the Sundowns camp. What is the general sentiment ahead of kickoff tonight?
They have to be confident. It's the Club World Cup. They're not here by mistake. They are, 8-time champions of the, South African Premier Soccer League top flight. And, through the rankings from a CAF standpoint, they've deservedly made it here as one of the 4 African nations. But it's going to be tough. I'm busy just even watching the first Group F match between Fluminense of Brazil as well as Dortmund of Germany. 0-0 at the moment. So if it stays like this, it means the group is wide open leading up into the opening match for Sundowns against Ulsan of South Korea. Tall players. I didn't expect that. I think they're gonna, outpower our players in terms of aerial strength. So, which means then Sundowns have to be good on the ball, on their feet, as we know them to be, shoe shine and piano. But I think a lot of people are looking at these 2 teams as maybe the whipping boys of the group. But as we've seen at the moment with the Club World Cup, there have been some few upsets here and there, and a few predictable results as well. Let's hope for Mamelodi Sundowns' sake, it's not a predictable result.
Now, how important is a good start for Sundowns? You are talking about them as potentially being seen as the whipping boys in the group. How important is it for them to start really well in the context of possibly making out of the group late in the tournament?
Yeah, I think if they beat Ulsan this evening here in Orlando, it will, it's a good stepping stone or starting point to set the tone for the rest of the campaign, because then they go to Cincinnati to face Dortmund, who there's been criticism that a lot of the European clubs are using the Club World Cup more as pre-season, unveiling new signings, trying on a few combinations, but that not necessarily be the case for Mamelodi Sundowns, coming off the back of that CAF Champions League disappointment against Pyramids in Cairo a few weeks back. Miguel Cardoso has not even signed new players because he wants to continue with the harmony inside the dressing room. So I strongly believe that if they beat Ulsan, then everyone will take them a lot more seriously as contenders to try and come out of the group instead of the usual suspect, if I could say, like a Borussia Dortmund and a Fluminense side who are very good. So they have to start well, even if it's 1-0, as long as it's 3 points on the board for Mamelodi Sundowns.
Speaking of that CAF Champions League final, Sundowns haven't played for a couple of weeks now. Are you expecting any lingering after effects from that defeat?
I think so. They, could see the body language a little bit. There's still huge disappointment from the Sundowns group that after nearly 10 years of not making it to to the final of the CAF Champions League stage and being knocked out in the quarterfinals and semi-finals after winning in 2016. This was perhaps their best chance. And against a relatively new found team in Pyramids, who, although they have superstars in their team, they are still babies in the CAF Champions League space. So Mamelodi Sundowns really missed an opportunity here, and you could kind of sense it in the mood in the camp. And they were, the coach said, I was speaking to him yesterday, he said he gave them a bit of a break, about a week, far apart from each other, so that they can sort of recalibrate and refresh a little bit. And hopefully, when they step out on the pitch here in Orlando this evening, US time, they will have shaken it off and start afresh. Just see the Club World Cup as something fresh, even though obviously by no stretch of their imagination are they are favorites to go all the way, but coming out of the group will make a huge statement leading up into a new season of the Champions League, as well as a new season of the Betway Premiership.
And just lastly from me, Mazola, what are you looking forward to the most generally from the match and specifically from Sundowns tonight?
Yeah, I think generally from the match, just a good start. I think if they play their own game, they control the ball position as much as we know Sundowns to do, either in the local league or in CAF inter-club competitions, then they'll be confident about themselves as well. But if that doesn't happen, then they'll be chasing shadows right through the match, because there's a pace about the South Korean team as well. As I said, they are lanky fellas, and they will be trying to use that to their strength, as opposed to Mamelodi Sundowns, who aren't, the tallest of a squad, if you would say. And then beyond that, I think Sundowns know that up against Borussia Dortmund and Fluminense, then they face potentially more difficult teams in the last stretch of the fixtures in the group stages of the CAF of the Club World Cup, so to speak. So really hoping that tonight is a good start for Sundowns, and it will be good for me as well if they get past the group stages. I stay longer.
You get to stay longer, yeah, absolutely. All right, Mazola Molefe, thank you very much for joining us on The Full View tonight, and enjoy the game later on.
Always a pleasure.
Fantastic. And on that note, that is a wrap from the sports desk on The Full View tonight.